Questioning Everything with Garrett and Adam.
I think people want to hear me talk about the guy going. Just kidding.
I don't even remember that. Is that?
It's a part of the movie that's awesome. Where they're all. I think they're just the dude that's doing it. He's just very animated. It's the coolest part of the movie.
Is it like African? Or?
They're in some jungle doing it. There's hundreds of them, and they're all moving like just side by side on their, and they're all cross-legged, and they're like breathing, and they're like, and they're like they're all just one big group of people. Like,
oh, that sounds cool.
Oh, it's amazing, and the old-looking dude with doing it. He's looking at the camera and he's just like very animated, and it's just wild. You should find the video and share it on YouTube.
Huh. Well, everybody should watch Baraka.
Oh my God.
Baraka is the best movie ever made.
Super relative.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Relevant. Yeah.
Relevant. Sorry.
Yeah, no, it is. It's my favorite movie. It's the best movie that's ever been made.
I had in my opinion. I think I should get it on Blu-ray and watch it. You know what my prescription is? Eat like probably 3 grams of mushrooms, put that on a high def TV, and make sure no one's gonna come knock on the door or the phone's gonna ring, and watch that.
Yeah, if it doesn't tickle your fancy, really try to find some psychedelics and watch it. Don't just smoke a joint because it's not gonna be enough. It will be
to trip out. You need to get into another dimension.
Yeah.
To me, my old friend Tomiko did that to me when I was young. They were all like, "Come on over." Like when I was like almost been 17, and we were at someone's house, and I got nuked.
So that I'm just going to segue that or sidebar. That is an appropriate use of the term "another dimension" to me.
I'm just loosely saying.
I had this idea for a graphic. Right, because we talk about it's hard to explain ideas sometimes, but I don't believe in dimensions. Right, I believe there's 3 dimensions and then time. Mm-hmm. But I'm willing to humor the idea of emergent dimensions. Right, but the idea of emergent dimensions is much like what you were talking about. I think it was episode 1, where you're saying that you believe that when somebody becomes enlightened, that they glow or they're like light up or they're somehow detectable.
And the aliens can figure it out. That's cool. We're gonna come get him now.
And it's similar to that in the sense that I think that dimension is non-existent in most of the universe. There's 4 dimensions in most of the universe. But if there's multiple dimensions, then those multiple dimensions are emergent from us. Right? So you have chemistry that has 3 degrees of freedom and then changes. Mm-hmm. Right? And that's the 4 dimensions. So the universe is made out of this. 3 degrees of freedom, and then change, which means time. Without us, that's literally all you get. Add in animals, and now suddenly, maybe even plants, suddenly you have something that has senses and responses. So that's another degree of freedom, right? When you decide, I want to walk over there, I want to walk over there, I want to go see somebody, that is a degree of freedom. Really, it is. A rock doesn't do that. Chemistry does not do that, right? You do it. And when you consider that a chemical or a rock or an atom has these 3 degrees of freedom as far as to move in space, and then they have time as far as changing from moment to moment, you have all that as well, but then you can decide where you want to go. The rock can't. The rock gets knocked here or there based off of what contacts it. It's entirely probabilistic. Whereas you get to decide, I'm going to go to this, I'm going to go to that. Right? So all those things that are coming from us that a rock doesn't have, those are all multiple dimensions because they are degrees of freedom that we can move within and express within and experience within. And so when a human exists, suddenly if you're to look at the world, when a human exists in a point of the world, in that area, in that region, in that space there's multiple dimensions. Right? So it'd almost be like it would be a dead 3-dimensional planet, and then suddenly, boom, there would be a pocket of 13, who knows however many dimensions, based off of an new degrees of freedom that simply don't exist as long as you're just a rock. And in the state that we're in right now, the whole world would be like glowing. There'd be like an aura of multiple dimensionality, because all of these organisms with these extra dimensions are concentrated all over the place, you know? So if you were to look at it, you would, you know, see like a glow or a light meanwhile, if you were to wipe out all the people, all the organisms, all the animals, that would all go out. There would suddenly just be 4 dimensions again. Mm-hmm. Right? So and that's now, if you've got an intuition, you might even sense that there's multiple dimensions. But you're living on a planet that is saturated with people that produce multiple dimensions. And you're an organism that has inherent endogenous dimensionality greater than just 3 degrees of freedom and time. And so you're right that there's multiple dimensions. But if you were to try to test the universe, you're going to find that in the universe, there's only 4. It's not that you're wrong that there's multiple dimensions. It's that there's only multiple dimensions as long as you've got the perspective of them. Take away the perspective of them because you're no longer a person, and you just look at the universe as a dead, inorganic, mechanistic place, you'll only ever find the 4. You have to introduce a life form in order to now be able to observe the multiples. You know what I'm saying? And then
through that, you're just solidifying my theory this whole time about, yes, you're right. The fucking the universe is a mechanistic, cold, just Tetris thing that's just there. And then we've got the humans, the aliens, the spiritual juice that exists outside of it. Like you have the chessboard and the person playing chess. And that's how I feel like and then we bring in those different dimensions. I don't know how, man. I'm not like, I can't measure this or articulate it in such
it's just like, imagine a cold room and you bring in a warm hot dog. Literally. Okay. Right. Now, if you were a person, or let's just say you're a pencil in that room, and you're aware of the room and everything's the room, and then suddenly you brought in the warm hot dog, that the warmth from the hot dog is like a new dimension, right? Because now you don't have to physically contact that object in order to feel it with your senses. Now it's radiating a thermal radiation that's so distinct that it's apparent before you're even physically touching it. Right. Mm-hmm. So that might not be the best description of a dimension.
That's where ghosts, but like these ghost theories, like when you die, you're just kind of.
Well, that's the problem with this theory of dimension, is that it leaves that, because without understanding fully where the multiple dimensions emerge from and whether or not they can have any form of independence, like radiation, right? Like say for instance, we're in a mountain area, and I scream echo really loud, right? And you say it, and the second you say it, I cut off your head.
Yeah.
Your voice now is like permeating the universe, is lasting longer than your own life. Right. So you're no longer able to produce a noise because now you're dead.
You're like echo.
But the noise you produce is now echoing back and forth in the mountains and everything like that. Right. Showing that we can produce wavelengths, or we can produce
after we're dead
cause and effects. We can have a cause that still affects after we're dead. Yes.
Right. The hauntings.
So that's
how does that relate to aliens, Garrett and Adam?
Yeah, no, really.
That's really though. Like that's a great question.
It might though,
because it does aliens, on that fabric of what you've just presented. Yes,
the aliens themselves would also operate
on that
within multiple dimensions.
That's what I'm suggesting.
Right.
How do I understand that? How do I make it? Like, you're so scientific. Like, the way you're able to break things down, like, and really make them conceivable is quite interesting. Like, whereas I'm just like, I just feel that I just use my intuition. Like, the way I perceive everything. I don't read these books as well as you, but
they wouldn't be able to travel in those dimensions, right? Because that's, again, if you were to test the universe doesn't have them. They're only emergent from an organism. And they're only from within the perspective of that organism or another organism. From the perspective of a rock, there is no more dimensions because the rock can't tell. It couldn't even detect them. It's the person who's inside this universe that says there's multiple dimensions, and the rock's like, I don't know, but I don't see them.
Advertisement loading.
Hey guys, don't turn the podcast off because we're just going to talk to you a little bit about Patreon.
Yeah.
We've got a Patreon because we have to commercialize this podcast somehow. We've got to eat more than ramen one day.
And coffee, straight coffee all day.
And if you love the content and you want to support the podcast, then why don't you join us on Patreon? And the link is in the description. And you can become a champion.
A warrior.
Not a warrior, but a...
I screwed that one up.
Get up. And I'm fat.